Hey dancers, welcome back to Broche Banter. I'm your host, Julie, and today I want to talk about hobbies. So I have all kinds of different hobbies. You guys have asked me about my martial arts and singing and all kinds of various things, and I want to talk a bit about those, but also about what it's like to have a hobby as an adult. For many of you, ballet is your hobby. Obviously, ballet is now my job. It did start out as my hobby. Getting into many different interests can be very helpful for your ballet. I think sometimes as ballet dancers, there's a little bit of stigma around doing things that aren't ballet and that you should be 100% focused on ballet, and people sometimes come to me feeling bad that they have a lot of interests and feeling like badly that they have multiple interests in things that they do, that they should be totally dedicated to ballet. But I hope throughout the course of listening to some of my hobbies and how they've helped me with ballet, you'll see that doing other things can be extremely helpful for ballet, that they're almost like a shortcut because some lessons are easier to learn in different contexts than others. And when you're really paying attention, you can apply them all to each other. And you almost, like I said, you almost get like a shortcut if you've got all these different ways and modes to learn things that are easier to learn in one way or harder to learn in another way. So with this, I hope you enjoy this episode. One of the earliest sort of hobbies that I had was sewing. So when I was very young, my mom taught me and my brother how to cross stitch, which is like it's like embroidery, but way easier. You have these X's on a piece of fabric, and you're stitching colored fabric to the X. It's like paint by numbers, but with stitching. And so I would cross stitch a lot. It was so fun. It was like really meditative and relaxing. And I was a kid, and I really enjoyed sewing, making these little cross stitch patterns. And then at a certain point, my mom taught me how to sew actual clothes. And so then I got obsessed with sewing and would sew these very elaborate clothes for my doll, for my American Girl doll. I was like, she had like a full wardrobe. She had like summer clothes. Like I lived in San Diego, so there's no like seasons, but she had like a coat. She had like a coat and like muffs and warm things, and she had like ball gowns, and she had a bathing suit, and she had like an ice skating dress, and I just would go to the fabric store and just, it's just for a doll. So you could buy just remnants. You could fish through the remnant basket and just buy all these things. And you could buy one piece of lace from the remnant basket and one pattern. And I would just make up my own patterns and just had so much fun sewing as a kid. And so that was like one of my very first sort of hobbies. I'm not sure that I would count music as a hobby when I was a kid. As I talked about in a couple of episodes ago, I did study music very intensely. I'm not sure I would consider that a hobby. Like it was not exactly optional. Obviously I could have quit at any point, but it was one of those things where once I kind of got into it and I was in band, it was sort of like, that's what was expected. It was not quite a hobby like that I just did for fun. And like nobody made me, like my mom made me practice. She would make me practice. And if I didn't practice, she would kind of get on me about practicing. It was a bit different than a hobby where when I was sewing, I would just have time on the weekend and want to sew, and I would finish my homework early so I would have time for sewing. And that was a bit more hobby-like versus music, which, yeah, I would call that a little bit different than a hobby. I would really say a hobby is something you do for yourself, not necessarily by yourself, but because of yourself, because of your own passion, because of your own curiosity, because you just feel like doing it, which is a lot different than doing it because someone is like writing you and making sure you practice that day. And she's like, I didn't hear any flute music up there. That's like a little different than a hobby. So anyways, that was my first hobby, was sewing. So funny enough, at the end of high school, when, you guys know about this, about my story, I was so sort of tired of everything. I was ready to leave San Diego. I was so ready for college. I was just like done with everything. I started 2 new projects. I started a cross-stitching project. I went to Michael's, which is our kind of sort of craft store here in the US. I went to Michael's in the summer after I graduated, and I was like, okay, I'd like to start a new cross-stitching project, one that will take me the entire summer and it'll really keep me busy and give me some really nice ways to relax this summer. And so I picked a cross-stitching project. I guess I would have been 18, and I am halfway done with it. It is huge, and the fact that I thought it was going to take me only this summer is hilarious. Like, oh, to be young when you just think that these huge projects are going to take you a very short period of time. I love that zest. I love that optimism. But that project I am literally still working on. It is a giant tapestry, like of an aquarium that's looking like a cityscape. So it's like fish living in the city. But it's been with me basically my whole adult life. Now I'm 35 and I started when I was 18 and I'm halfway there. I haven't always been working on it consistently, but whenever I have time and whatever here and there, I work on it. And it's fun because throughout time I've customized it. So like little parts of my life are sewn into it, little eras, like the name of my college is sewn into it because I was in college for a lot of the sewing, and some things from early starting Broche are in there since that was part of the time. So that's still one of my hobbies. I love that project. I hope I'll finish it one day because it's going to be epic when it's totally done and framed, and I hope it doesn't start to yellow by the time I get it done. Anyways, that's the hobby that I started at the end of high school along with ballet. Now, interestingly, with ballet, I also never really identified with it as a hobby. And maybe you don't either. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But to me, ballet always felt bigger than a hobby and deeper than a hobby. It felt like a calling. It felt like a passion. It felt like a missing piece. It felt really deep and really meaningful. And when people would call it a hobby, I would, I was young, I would get a little rubbed the wrong way. I was like, it's not a hobby, but it really never felt like a hobby to me. It felt way more important than a hobby, way more deep, way bigger. Obviously it's become my work. It's no longer a hobby. It really never was, but it's obviously my work. So you already know my story about ballet, so we're not going to get into that again. But through in and out of having ballet as a constant stream, I've always been curious about doing other things to help me with ballet. So after college, I started powerlifting. I was involved with trying to figure out how to eat better. I've talked about that in my food episode. And a big part of the eating better community is like exercising, right? Like exercising your body, how to improve your strength, how to improve your cardio health, like really just getting in physical shape. And so part of this community that I was in was like weightlifting was a big thing to try. And so I, learned the basics like squat, deadlift, bench, and I would just go to the gym in my neighborhood and, start to experiment a little bit with some squats and some benches and some deadlifts and things like that. And then at a certain point, this personal trainer named Aiden came up to me and he's like, "Hey, I see you here at the gym a lot. Like you're lifting weights, like you're doing great, but I could really show you a few things and help you get a little bit better, get you to the next level." And, I was feeling like I didn't really know what I was doing. So why not try a session with Aiden? And we ended up working together for like a year, 2 years. We had a great time. I learned a ton from Aiden about life and about how to push through hardships and about the mindset of approaching a challenge, like how to breathe when you're psyching yourself up for a challenge and how to focus your mind when you're afraid of something and how to, like if you're doing a big heavy overhead press, it's scary, you're like, I'll be like, oh, what if it falls on me? And, he would teach me how to think through those thoughts. And I'm like, what if it falls on me? And what if we try it and I fail? Or what if we try it and I get hurt? And we would work through those things and work through those mental issues so that I could see and understand how to shape my mind and how to build the confidence in my body that I could do these things and even be afraid and do them anyways. And, we saw how the relationship between fear affects your success or not. So the more afraid you are, the less likely you are to be successful. Like when you're really succumbing to the fear, you don't give it your all and you don't push as hard as you need to be able to make that thing happen. This really influenced how I teach point, because when you feel those fear and you worry in that moment that you're about to get hurt, like that's when you're about to get hurt because your body doesn't give its full oomph. It doesn't coordinate as well. It holds back. You hunch your body language changes and it doesn't work. But when you feel that and you feel confident, like I've got this, I can do this, trusting yourself, then the lift or the point is more successful. Had a great time. I ended up doing like a weightlifting competition. I think I deadlifted like 265 pounds or something. I don't know how much that is in kilograms. It's like divided by 130 maybe. That it was such an amazing experience learning about so many different things and learning about so many different aspects of training and about how to push yourself, like through muscle burn, through pain, what kind of pain is good pain and what kind of pain is bad pain. And like any physical activity, like I did get hurt a couple of times, right? And like there's good pain and bad pain. You have to learn how to navigate and how to come back and how to fix issues that cause you to get that injury and how to, move through here and there. So that was a really, really fun and fascinating period of time that very much felt like a hobby and very much helped my ballet mindset. And when I went back into ballet after that, I felt so much more confident and so much more like I could overcome the fatigue in class, that I could focus my mind when I was afraid of a pirouette, that I could focus when I was not sure if I was going to get a combination, that I had that sort of positive self-talk required to come back into ballet. That's really hard to learn in ballet, depending on the environment that you're in. If you're in a very traditional environment, there's not a lot of that self-talk mirrored for you, so you can see what you should be thinking instead of the thoughts that you're thinking. If you're like, oh, I'm scared of this, oh, it's not going to work, I'm going to mess this up, I'm going to fail at this, you're not often in an environment that's going to show you how to reframe that and how to build that trust and that confidence. I try to in my classes, but it's really something that is hard to find and hard to build in. It can be hard to build in ballet. So going somewhere else to build that can be really, really helpful. I'm going to keep on the exercise thing for just a sec, even though the next thing was several years later. I did at a certain point start working out with the exercise bike with Peloton. if you're not familiar with Peloton, it's like a digital community where everyone's working out together. They have a bunch of instructors, they have live classes, they have recorded classes, and you're all on a bike, like, well, at least at the time, the beginning was a bike. Now they've got the treadmill and the rowing and like weightlifting and yoga and stuff like that. But anyways, the reason I did that, it was a really fun experiment. I was working at Broche, and I noticed very early on that the top issue with retention, with keeping people in the studio, which of course if you're a studio owner is a huge deal. Like getting people in the door is already hard, and then keeping them in the door is hard. And it's really important that you can do both if you want to keep your doors open. So keeping people in the studio was motivation, like getting them to want to prioritize it, getting them to feel good while they were there so that they wanted to come back, making sure that they had the support that they needed for what they should do if they're tired at the end of the day, how they should, support their body so that they can make it to class after work. And I learned very early on that motivation was the biggest competition to the success of my business. It wasn't like the ballet studio down the street. Like there are people who went to both, right? If you love ballet, you're probably going to all the studios. Like the studio down the street was not the competition. The competition was their own lack of motivation, their busyness, their changing priorities, like whatever that was. And so I was like, how do you motivate someone to exercise, to do something that's physically difficult for them? So I thought, well, okay, let me experiment with myself. And so I thought, what do I hate doing? What do I really not want to do and find very difficult? And can I figure out how to motivate myself to do that? And then thus would learn a lot along the way of how to offer motivation to this community of people. And so I decided to start trying to use the Peloton bike. There was one in the building gym that I lived in, so I didn't have to like buy one or invest in it or anything, which is great. So I would just decided to get started. So I one day walked in and logged in, like figured out how to log into the bike and started a membership and started to ride the bike. And it was very interesting because at first I did not like it because it was hard and I was hot and sweaty and thirsty and my legs were sore and made work harder the next day because I was more tired and my legs were more sore. And, I didn't want to go the second day, and I was like, not even sure if I should go the second day because I was still sore. And it's like, great. These are all questions. These are all questions and issues that your dancers are experiencing. These are all things that they're facing. They don't know. They're sore after class. Should they come the next day? Should they stretch? What should they do? Their body is really hot and sweaty. Does that mean they're out of shape? Should they try a lower level? Like all these questions running through my head. It's like, okay, write these down. These are all issues that real people are going to be facing when starting an exercise routine for the first time. And while it wasn't my first time starting an exercise routine, cardio, a straight cardio session is way different than a ballet class. So all of those questions and doubts and concerns were all things that would be relevant to the community. It's like, okay, what do I eat beforehand? How early do I eat beforehand so that I can have enough energy for the bike ride, but I'm not like too full? And what if I skip beforehand? How does that feel and affect my body? And it was like, great, these are all really important topics to address with the students so that they can, have some ideas about how to navigate all these situations to make it to class and to enjoy their class and, not be hungry halfway through and have the energy after work and all of that. What I found over time was the instructors were so helpful during class to help you understand the sensations that you were feeling in your body and what was normal. This is not something that you get in ballet training. You often in class, the teacher is setting the combination or maybe just coming over and pushing you into a different position or like correcting you physically, but not giving you explanation about what it should feel like. And the instructors would describe what they were feeling and they would say like, oh, maybe your face is getting hot. Maybe you feel your chest. Maybe you feel your heart rate going up. Maybe you feel you're getting a little lightheaded. Like they would describe the sensation of cardio. And that really helped me understand how to push myself because you'd say, oh, okay, I am getting a little bit warm, so that's normal. She's talking about it. It must be normal. That's okay. And you would kind of be able to identify the sensations in your body and help push yourself even more. And I found that incredibly helpful for motivation because then I wasn't so worried if I was hurting myself. And then I realized that from that experience, like people coming to ballet might actually be worried that they are hurting themselves when they don't know what the sensations are that they're feeling. And then of course, no one wants to hurt themselves. We have a job, we have kids, we have to take care of. If you get hurt, it's kind of a big deal as an adult. So they might be worried, like, are they overdoing it? Are they pushing it too hard? Are they going to permanently damage their knees or their hips? Are they going to hurt their feet? These worries and these doubts must be things that people were experiencing. So it became really important to me to work into class the stream of consciousness about how your body should be feeling. Whereas before teaching we talked a bit about that, but it didn't become as clear to me that I should discuss with the dancers what they should be feeling the next day, what's good pain, what's bad pain, and like having these conversations with them during class to just up front kind of take care of some of these worries and concerns that might be having that might stop them from continuing ballet. And it's important, obviously, that people don't get hurt. That's a big part of any teacher, is try to make sure that people are not getting hurt. But really discussing these things so that they understand the prevention required, what keeps them safe, what things are dangerous, what does danger feel like, what does safe work feel like, what should your spine be feeling, what should your hips be feeling like. These are all really important things to discuss. And so still now to this day, this is a really big part of how I teach the way I teach, and I think really helps people progress and also stay engaged because they really understand, like, I'm doing this safely. This is what pushing myself safely feels like, and then they can identify in their body when they're pushing themselves safely and when they need to take a break and take a breather. So many lessons learned from that experience of working on getting myself to do. And actually, by the end, I came to like really love cardio. Like at the end, when I stopped doing that, I stopped doing it because COVID happened and the building gym closed, and I was like really worried that the gym had closed, because to me, like, riding the bike had become my sort of coping mechanism. It had become how I dealt with stress. It had become how I built confidence in myself again. It had become where I would go when things were difficult and I needed to feel like positive and optimistic again. I knew I could just get on the bike and I could ride with Robin for 20 minutes and I would feel like I could do it. I could feel like I could conquer the problems I was having at work. I could feel like I could live another day in my business, and it was really a big part of my confidence. And so when COVID happened, and of course, COVID was terrible for people who had brick and mortar businesses, and it was so stressful, and I was so worried because I didn't have my coping mechanism. I didn't have my de-stressor, and I didn't have my place where I was going to reset my mind to get those positive thoughts back and to kind of shift that landscape in my head. And for me, ballet has not always been that. Ballet is a place where it's very difficult and you're always seeking for perfection. And it's not always a place where I've personally gone to learn how to shift my mindset. I shift my mindset outside and bring that into ballet class, and then I have a much better ballet class. So after that, then I was kind of desperate to continue, and so Peloton had some like body weight stuff, and I started doing their body weight programs, like body weight high intensity cardio, which I did not love. Like, oh my God, a burpee is the worst. Not my jam, but I did those type of things just so that I could still be in that ecosystem and learn from the instructors. And they're all so positive and really help you kind of learn how to talk to yourself through hard things. They really teach you how to encourage yourself and how to push through sensations and how to push through discouragement and how to keep going. And so that's a huge aspect for me. So I did their body weight stuff, and eventually I started their meditations and their yoga, and really enjoyed all of that as well. I do still miss the bike every once in a while. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun and great experience. I still do their yoga, and now I've gotten some free weights to work on my arms a little bit, and I do their weights programs as well. But I started yoga with them. One more on the exercise hobbies. I started yoga with them after COVID, like during that transition from COVID. And that was a really interesting hobby because personally, I've never been like easily flexible. Like flexibility has been very difficult for me to achieve. Like I was that kid who couldn't touch their toes in school and would fail the physical fitness test for flexibility. And, I just kind of always assumed that I wasn't a flexible person. I think probably my legs grew really fast. I got very tall, very young. And, flexibility was just super hard for me. So it was interesting because I started yoga just really for the like relaxation part of it. Like I had closed the ballet studios. I had closed our brick and mortar studios in July of 2020. And after that, we moved away from Denver. Denver just became too stressful. I moved away from Denver, and I really needed to cope. I really needed to sort of like cope with everything that just took place, with everything that just happened and closing everything. And it was a very difficult time. So I started the meditations and the yoga really just to, like I said, just try to cope and to try to just get in touch with my emotions and with my body and move through everything that had happened and just kind of work through it all. And the yoga was so interesting because I did not start it to become more flexible, nor did I have any type of plan, nor did I have any type of structure. I would just wake up in the morning, and I told myself every morning, you'll wake up And, I gave myself a little routine just because I knew I needed that for my brain and my mental health and kind of getting through all this. And every morning I would wake up and I would listen to a Spanish podcast. And because I love Spanish, I love learning Spanish. I learned it very, very deeply in high school. And so I would listen to Spanish, and I would learn. Coffee Break Spanish was the podcast I loved, and I would cross stitch until the sun came up. And then once the sun came up, I would do yoga or meditation. And that was my thing. And if I was too tired, I would just do meditation. Or if I was feeling more raring to go, I would do like a power yoga. And I literally just wake up every morning and think, what do I need today? And I would browse the classes and I would just click one. So there was no plan, no rhyme or reason. All I said to myself was every day you should take something on there, something. So you just have this routine. And it was fascinating to me that after so much struggle with flexibility and like trying to stretch and pushing myself to stretch and just struggling with it, I got so much more flexible from doing just any random yoga every single day. And that was really funny to me because as a very structured person, I talk about structure a lot on this podcast, and ballet is very structured, and that's just kind of how I think about learning. It was so interesting to me that experiment, when I did not have the intention, I did not have that goal, and yet I got there just from consistency. No fancy plan, no trainer, just me and the recorded video on my iPad, sometimes on the balcony, sometimes in the living room, whatever I felt like that day, and it worked. And I was like, wow. So there is great value in consistency, even if it's not a perfect plan, even if it's not a like really exactly well-rounded mix of this day and this day and that the next day. It's just like showing up every day, learning how to check in with your body, learning how to check in with yourself, see what do you need that day. If you're sore, take care of it. If you're raring to go, use that energy. Just like literally checking in and doing what you need was enough to get further. Anyways, that was a very interesting and humbling life lesson, because I was always obsessed with like the plan and the structure and everything. And then to find out that no plan actually works, kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. So a big thing that I do preach still is a consistency, especially when someone's coming to ballet for the first time. Like in the beginning, it does not matter like what you practice in the beginning. You just start to practice. Every day, start to practice, follow your curiosities, and over time, you'll get the direction that you need to go in the different areas. Over time, you'll become informed enough to make a plan that makes more sense and is more structured. But in the beginning, it's just like the fact that you showed up on a consistent and regular basis is like the foundation of laying the groundwork for progress. In the beginning, beginners can stress so much about the perfect diet plan, the perfect workout plan, the perfect ballet schedule, the perfect cross training schedule, the perfect stretching schedule. And it's like a lot of times you have to just get started and prove to yourself that you can do it every day or on a regular basis. You have to just have that relationship with yourself. You have to learn how to listen to your body. You have to learn how to say like, okay, today I showed up and I'm tired, so that means I should do this instead. Not nothing, but this instead, to take care of myself and to take care of this body. So that act of showing up consistently actually is really difficult, and actually you achieve a lot through it. So anyways, that was really interesting learning with yoga. Okay, so other types of dance. Throughout the years, I've taken lots and lots of other types of dance, some of them required, some of them not required. In college, I had to take jazz and hip hop and tap as part of the dance program that I took in college. Tap was so fun, so hard, but really helps you with rhythm, and you feel like you're on the rhythm, but you can hear that you're not. Like a lot of times in ballet, you feel like you're on the rhythm, but your teacher says you're not, and you're like, I swear I'm on the rhythm. With tap shoes, let me tell you, you can tell when you're not in the rhythm, and it really helps you improve the rhythm of your feet, because like you've got great rhythm in your hands, but do your feet have good rhythm? Actually, it's really, really hard and requires excellent balance so you can have that rhythm. So tap was super fun. Hip hop was way out of my comfort zone. Like I'm so used to dance having names for every movement, but the hip hop instructor would be like, and then you just move your shoulder, and then you move your arms, and you do this. And I'm like, what's it called though? How am I supposed to remember it if you don't have a name for it? So I found memorizing choreography in hip hop to be super hard, because it was like, okay, shoulder thing, arm thing, leg thing, foot thing. And I usually memorize with words. So learning how to memorize in hip hop class was a whole new experience and a whole different way of memorizing things. That was super fun. I mean, I didn't know what to wear to hip hop class. I didn't even consider that there was a different outfit that you would wear to hip hop class. So I just like showed up in my ballet clothes on the first day of hip hop, the bun and everything. Oh my gosh. I figured it out that that's not what hip hop class is. But that was a really fun class to take. Jazz was great, so fun. We did like jazz and lyrical. You can really get in touch with the music a little bit more, and it's very flowy and very beautiful, very fun. I loved jazz. One of my teachers was a rockette, so we did some like precision jazz, which is so hard because you got to hit these exact precise poses and really build that body awareness. It was so easy to see when you're not on the right pose, when everybody's like exactly, in line and in the same pose. So loved those styles. Jazz, great for precision. Lyrical, super fun for the flowing and getting in touch with the music. When I lived in New York, I took all kinds of classes too, like contemporary classes and modern classes and whatever, I could find that fit my schedule. And man, those are all so fun, and they really get you in touch with the music, with rhythm, and with your body in a very different way than ballet does. Ballet is very upright and very rigid, and you don't really get to feel your body moving in different ways, the same way that you do in other of those activities. Each style of dance you take, there is so much to put back into your ballet. I know it's popular to say that ballet is like the foundation of all dance, but like they all feed into each other. And it is so fascinating to see how different they are and how similar they are. And it really gives you more context on your ballet training when you see how other styles do it. Because you're so used to a specific structure in ballet class that you may not realize that jazz class starts with a strength and flexibility warm-up, and like that's great because you get a core workout right there and you're stretching and everything. You might not realize that hip-hop class sometimes involves like doing push-ups and various other things. So it's like, yeah, you just get so much more variety in seeing how dance can be taught, because ballet can be so rigid. It can really broaden your horizons and bring you back into a much richer and deeper ballet practice, and bring an awareness to what's different about ballet, what's special about ballet, what makes ballet ballet versus the other things. Why is this ballet and that's not ballet? That's so helpful, because then you can see the rules that you're meant to follow in ballet and why, and because they're what makes ballet special and different than the other things. So if you don't have that context of the other styles, sometimes that's a little bit hard to feel when you're just only in ballet class. Okay, and then last style of dance. I actually took this for a couple of years. I actually took up a pole dancing class when we were in Denver and I had the Broche studios. I decided that I wanted a stronger upper body. I was like, okay, ballet doesn't really get your upper body. But I, was working on 3 or 4 pirouettes with multiple pirouettes, like working on getting my quads, and I really wanted to have a better port de bras and stronger upper body. And so I thought, well, I don't really want to go back to weightlifting, kind of been there, done that. I'd rather try something new. And so I thought, well, probably pole dancing would be really hard for the upper body. So I, Googled it and found a super fun, super friendly, amazing pole studio. I met it was, I think, called T's Studio in Denver. Met the owner, Ashley, like so fun. We bonded a lot over owning dance studios. I taught ballet for the pole studio for a little while, and it was just like so fun. Got these giant like pink sparkly heels to play with. Like they really encouraged dressing up, which I'm sure was a big part of why I encouraged dressing up in my classes too, because there was a big part of like dressing up for class was part of what made it really fun and like really playful. And that was really fun. I went once or twice a week pretty religiously for a couple of years, and I didn't get like that good at it. It's still pretty hard, and I'm a pretty stiff person, so the moves sometimes just look like Bambi on a pole, but that's okay. Got to where we were like climbing and spinning and spiraling and some floor work, and yeah, it really did improve the upper body, and it was loads and loads of fun. I think it helped my pirouettes immensely because we had to just get used to the feeling of spinning. We're like spinning around the pole, so you're getting used to those sensations in your head and getting really used to it. I usually get a lot of vertigo. I'm very sensitive to this feeling of turning, so it was very helpful to have that class to help me get used to turning in a very safe feeling environment, because you're holding on to something with both hands. It really helped with getting in your body and loosening up a little bit and being able to use momentum, whereas in ballet I think sometimes it's really hard for people to learn about momentum because everything is so rigid and because you're really circumventing your natural human ways of generating momentum. So it's really hard actually for people to learn how to get speed and get power and get momentum in such a rigid environment. And so having that movement when I was in that phase of ballet where I was working towards 3-4 more pirouettes was really helpful. It was really helpful and helped me kind of figure out how all that force was going to be used and where it was going to go, and feel safer giving myself that much speed and power by just playing around with the pole. I also thought at that period of time that we should really learn point work with a pole instead of with a bar, because when you can pull down, it gives you such a feeling of safety and security. Like we have these giant heels that we're wearing, and like the heels are scary if you're not holding onto the pole, but like holding onto the pole, you actually feel like really confident in this pair of stilts. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if we should all be doing point work on poles. Never implemented that, but I have the seed is planted because it was so helpful versus hunching over a bar, you know, where you're not even doing everything correctly. But being able to pull and to engage your back and to engage your lats and to give you that security and safety was actually like, yeah, a really interesting thought while I was, you know, there spinning around the pole, having a good time. So those are my sort of like exercise, dance related hobbies. So one more big hobby that I started when I moved to Miami was vocal lessons. So it's learning how to sing. This I started because I'm afraid of my voice. I don't like my voice. I don't like to hear my voice being loud. I don't like to yell. My voice cracks when I yell. I don't like making a lot of sound. I don't engage in yelling matches. I don't yell at anybody really. I don't use my voice in that way. And when I was in high school, I was the drum major and I had to yell all the time and I hated yelling. My voice would crack. It wasn't powerful. It didn't sound good. When I was a young kid, I was in like a choir, but I was always the one who was asked not to sing because I was always singing off key. I was just like so embarrassed by my voice and I wanted to be more confident with my voice. And I also wanted to do something hard and a little bit scary. I mean, I always like to do that. I always think it's important to push yourself, and especially as a teacher of adults, I've always found it important to me that I should be doing things that I ask my students to do. If I'm asking them to humiliate themselves, embarrass themselves trying new center steps, if I'm asking them to get out of their comfort zone and try something hard, and I'm not doing that, I'm getting out of touch with them very quickly, because ballet is not hard or scary for me. I mean, it's hard, obviously, like ballet is always hard, but it's not like embarrassing or like that thing. I don't have that with ballet. It's I'm comfortable with it. So getting back into that environment of being a new learner of something that you're kind of embarrassed about, like someone who was made fun of for having 2 left feet or who was humiliated as a child. What does that feel like? It's good to remember that as a teacher. It's so important to remember that on a regular basis because it's so easy to forget how terrible it feels. So I was like, okay, singing. We have to do it. We have to do it. We have to face this fear. It's time. We have to face this fear. So I looked up vocal lessons and I found a studio that offered mostly kids classes and like they would do private lessons for adults. So I called them up, I signed up, and I started with 30 minutes once a week with my teacher, Kelly, and 30 minutes was like way more than I even wanted to do. Like the first time I got there, I was like, I do not want to sing. And she's like, you're at a singing lesson. So we're going to sing a few notes. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to sing. Luckily, it was still COVID era, so we were wearing masks. I think if we hadn't had a mask on, I would have been too embarrassed to sing. At least I was like, okay, probably the mask will muffle the sound, so I don't mind singing. I don't think it actually did muffle the sound, but whatever. It got me to sing those first notes. And I mean, I was just like really not good at it, and I was so embarrassed, and every week I wanted to quit, and I would go there, and I'm like, I sound so bad. I hate the sound of my voice. I don't want to, I don't want to do this anymore, but I was like, you have to do this. Like, go, you want to be more comfortable with your voice. You want to do this. You want, and I would just remind myself, why are you doing this every week? Why are you doing this? Because I want to feel in control of my voice, because I want to connect with my voice, because I want to feel what my students feel. I want to feel this embarrassment and know how to work through it. And I'm like, okay, it's worth it. Go another week. And Kelly would be like, don't you want an hour lesson? And I'm like, nope, I do not want to do this for an hour. 30 minutes is enough embarrassment for 1 week. Thank you. And I'd refuse to practice at home. I do not want to sing in my house. I do not want to sing where my neighbors could hear, where my husband could hear. I do not want to sing. I do not want to sing. It was like green eggs in hand, not in a box, not in a train. I don't want to sing, which is funny because I started singing lessons. But anyways, you get it. The reasons are funny. So over time, I did get more comfortable with it, with my voice. After a while, she made me sing in front of a mirror, which was terrible. I think as ballet teachers, we forget how terrible mirrors are for people who don't look in mirrors all the time. Like as ballet people, we're used to looking in the mirror at our bodies and picking them apart all the time. But if you're just like a regular person and you don't do that and you walk into a ballet studio and you see a full-length mirror, you're just like, oh my God, is that what I look like doing all these things? Like it can be really overwhelming. So when she made me sing in front of that mirror, I was like, I don't want to do it. And she's like, you have to do it. Your mouth is not making the right shapes and you need to see it. And I'm like, I don't want to see it. And she's like, you have to do it. So she was probably a good teacher for me. So she made me sing in front of the mirror. We did it. I agreed. We sang in front of the mirror. And I just turned just beet red from head to toe. Like my chest was flushed, my arms, my face, and we both laughed. I was like, look, I told you it was going to be a disaster. And I'm like, my face, I was hot to the touch. I was literally so embarrassed to even just see myself singing in the mirror. And that feeling was so important as a teacher to remember how hard it is for people to watch themselves on video and how hard it is to see photos of yourself sometimes and how hard it is. It is so hard. Anyways, that was a terrible feeling. I did get over a lot of this. Now I watch myself singing on video a lot. Like it's helpful to match the sound to what you think the sound feels like and all of that. But the beginning was rough. It was so rough. over time, I think it's been now 5 years since I started singing lessons, maybe about 5 years. And now I've performed in a few recitals and done some recordings with I have two teachers, my other teacher, June. We've done some recordings together that I've performed on stage at the International Adult Ballet Festival to my own singing and recording. Another thing I did just to relate to my students so that I could, again, feel what it's like to be afraid to perform. I'm not usually that afraid to perform in ballet, but I'm afraid to perform in singing for sure. So remembering that stage fright, remembering what it's like to be afraid, remembering what it's like to be like embarrassed of subjecting the audience to these terrible sounds that you might be producing, and like afraid to take up space and take up auditory space. Like I don't like taking up sound. I don't like taking up noise and making noise. So like remembering and how I talk to myself through those sounds of like, how are you going to take up space and make people listen to this and stand there proudly while these sounds are coming out. Those were all super helpful to help the dancers with their own performance anxieties, because I was fresh feeling them myself. I was fresh. Like I don't want to go out there on stage with my own voice playing. Like I was really scared to have people hearing my voice, and it's all good to remember. It's all good to remember those feelings as a teacher. It's so important to remember what that feels like. So anyways, that's where I am with singing. I've gone in and out of singing. I don't love singing yet. I really don't. It's been years. I don't like connect with it. Sometimes I'll feel moments where it's really fun and I'll get emotional while I sing because I do connect with the music. But for the most part, singing is still a lot of work to keep going and to keep pushing myself to hear my voice and to make more sound. And depending on my mental state, it's harder to get to singing lessons, and it's harder to want to practice because I'm feeling more shy or I'm feeling more anxious, and it's harder to sing when you're feeling that way. And it's harder to want to make the sound with your voice. So it's very interesting how to watch just how your own mental state affects your motivation over time. But still going with singing lessons for now. They're good for me. I know they're good for me, but they're not easy to practice. If you feel that way with ballet, I get it. Like you want to do it. You wish you were better at it. You wish you felt the way that you hear these amazing singers and you think, I want to sing like that. I want to feel that freedom that they feel in their voice. I want to be able to make that much sound. I want to be able to be that powerful and like get a message across like that. But yet I'm still here. I'm still here in this place, working day by day and like working towards it. And, you're not always equally motivated to work towards that because it can feel sometimes so far off. And when you hear yourself sing, you're just like, oh my God, is that what my voice still sounds like? Like, oh, but it's good. It's good. It's good practice. And I will get further, it's like, I know that I'll get further. I've done enough things now where I trust that if I keep practicing and putting in the work, I will get further with it. Yeah, that's a really interesting hobby. Okay, so the last big hobby I'm going to talk about is jiu-jitsu. So why I started this one, I was in Miami. I had already started singing lessons recently, but I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where he was talking to one of the Gracies who brought, a lot of this stuff to America and started this like jiu-jitsu for all movement or for everyone movement. And, I clicked play on that particular episode of the Joe Rogan podcast because I saw the title there and I was like, oh, well, martial arts, I bet, has a lot of the similar problems with adults as ballet has, which is that it's a very structured and very disciplined art form. And yet adult life is very fluid and people quit and they come back and they don't take class all the time and they're not that consistent and they come in at different levels and they take breaks, and some people come 5 times a week and some people come 2 times a week, and you're trying to keep them on the same curriculum track, but these people are improving faster than these people, and then this one gets injured and takes a break, and now where do they hop back in? And there's all these logistics that are actually really complicated when you're trying to get a group of people to progress at a similar rate. It's really complicated, especially if you want to put something on a curriculum or a syllabus. This is like a big part too of why I've developed my sort of modular facets of ballet program, is like, because getting a group of people to go at the same rate anywhere is like really hard, much less if they're adults. So I was like, okay, fascinating. I would love to hear what his view on teaching martial arts is. And I wonder if I'll learn some new things about how to teach my students and how better to structure ballet for adult life. And I was listening to this episode and like I got convinced that I should try jiu-jitsu. I didn't actually learn that much about how to teach adults. So I got almost nothing from that initial goal. I mean, over time I learned a little bit about how their belt system works and various things, but I actually just got so convinced that I should start jiu-jitsu because it was like, that it helps your mind be calm under pressure, that it helps you think clearly in difficult situations, that it helps you be more calm and focused and all of these things that I wanted to be. It also helps you learn how to stand up for yourself and how to take up space in the world. And this was all stuff that I wanted to be able to do. You know, I was going through a difficult period on social media where I had some attacks against me and I was feeling very shy and very small and very like afraid of putting myself out there again. I was feeling afraid to fight. I was feeling small and vulnerable, and I wanted to feel what he described in this podcast. I wanted to feel more strong in myself and more self-assured and more calm and more ready to put myself out there. So I did not Google what it was. I don't know. I did not know what jiu-jitsu was. I just thought it was martial arts. Like I thought all martial arts was like kicking and I don't know, like kicking. And I was like, I could probably kick. I'm a ballet dancer. I could probably kick in the air. So I did not Google what jiu-jitsu was. I should have Googled what jiu-jitsu was, but I did not. I just Googled jiu-jitsu near me instead of starting at the first step, which was like, what is jiu-jitsu? I'm glad I did not because I probably wouldn't have started it. Anyways, I Googled jiu-jitsu near me and there happened to be a place near me, which was great. I mean, it makes sense because there's a huge like Portuguese community in my area and, you know, it was like made a lot of sense. But it happened to be right by me, like a few minutes away. And I called them and they had a free trial class like the next Tuesday. You know, they give you the gi, the outfit, it's called a gi, G-I, and they give you the outfit for the trial class and I could go for free. And so I went. I went to the first class and I literally had no clue. Like, again, I did not research this at all. It was at a time at work where I was just so busy. And so I didn't like look into it or watch videos or literally anything. All I did was show up there in my spandex and whatever that was supposed to go into the outfit. So I walk in, I get the outfit. It's nice. There's these nice people there. And then we get started. We do some running around. We do some push-ups. We do some group activities, you know, like group conditioning stuff and whatever. And then they're like, okay, it's sparring time. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing in the back and the professor, Mateus, he comes up and he's like, so you know what this is, right? And I was like, didn't want to say no because who shows up doesn't know what it is. So I just sort of like didn't say anything. And then he was like, you know, this is like wrestling on the floor, right? And I was like, oh, I hope I didn't make that face when he told me what it was. But I was like, oh, wow. Okay, great. Let's do it. So yeah, we basically, I think there was like maybe one other girl there and a bunch of guys, a bunch of men, big men, small men, all different sizes. And so we started wrestling with them and we would roll around and I mean, I didn't know what was going on. It was all totally foreign and totally new to me, but they were all very, very kind. And Mateus matched me with people who were willing to teach me what was going on and like help me through it. So we started what's called rolling, which is like sparring, which makes sense because you're rolling on the floor and doing all this stuff. And so we start rolling and we had these different matches and we start rolling and it was like, this is life-changing. This is like the coolest thing that I have ever experienced. Like, I think that class, that first day was I've never had an experience where in an hour, like my perspective on life changed. I've never had it like it was like so much to learn in such a short period of time about like what it meant to be afraid, because it was really scary, what it meant to be afraid, what it meant to push through that, what it meant to push somebody off of you, to feel the confidence of taking up space in your body to escape from an attack and to make your own attacks. And like that feeling of fighting and of defending and of like that, I realized like that you're worth defending. You have to defend yourself. Like nobody's defending you. Like the other person's job is to attack you, and it's your job to defend yourself, right? And you know, later you'll mount attacks too, but like, I guess I had just always kind of thought that like everyone was looking out for each other and that, you know, everyone was kind of going to be defending each other, but it was like really an eye-opening moment, which was like, you know, you are responsible for your life. You are responsible for defending yourself and for fighting for what you want. And you are responsible for it and you're capable of it, but you have to put in the work and you have to do it. This person's job is to look after themselves and to pursue their own interests and to make sure that things work for them in their life. And my job is to make sure things work for me in my life. And sometimes those are at odds and you have to fight for what you want. And like, that's part of what life is. It's like part of what it is to negotiate with the world around you to get what you're looking for and to make things work for you. And so like, maybe that was way deeper than anyone is meant to take fight, like rolling on the floor with each other. But for me, I just saw that my life was my responsibility in that moment. and that my voice was my responsibility, and that I was capable of fighting for myself, and that I was capable of standing up for myself, and I was allowed to do that. I was allowed to. In fact, I was expected to do that. In the beginning, I just like, when then we had the first, roll with the first guy, it just sort of like lay there, and he's like, "Why are you not fighting back?" And I'm like, "Oh, was I supposed to?" He's like, "Yeah, obviously." I'm like, "Oh, I mean, you were attacking me, so I thought it was just like that was what that was, like you were just gonna win." And he's like, "No, the goal here is to fight, to fight me, to fight back," right? Like I just went, from this extreme pacifist way of just like not really knowing how the world worked. And that moment, those first matches really opened my eyes to how things work. And that was huge. When I did get promoted to blue belt a couple of years later, maybe 2 years, a year and a half, I don't know, later. And when the professor gave the little speech about me when I was getting my blue belt, he was like, "I didn't think this person had it cut out, like was cut out for this." She came in just like extreme pacifist, never seen somebody so meek, never seen somebody so like passive and fearful as this person coming in. And, he talked about how over time they really watched me grow and blossom to be able to actually fight and to be able to have some semblance of aggression. I mean, I nowhere matched anyone else. Even the other ladies who would come in were just like way more aggressive than me right off the bat. But anyways, my own personal trajectory, he just talked about how fun it was to watch this growth and to watch me kind of grow into my own person and kind of grow into who I became throughout that process. And it was a hugely transformative experience. It was early in my singing lessons that I started jiu-jitsu, and I think I'd maybe been going for like 6 months or something to singing when I started jiu-jitsu. I went to my singing lesson one day, fine, meek, didn't want to make any sound, barely sang. And then I went to jiu-jitsu and I came back to my singing lesson the following week, and my teacher was like, we sang the first note, and my teacher looked at me and she's like, "What did you do this week?" And I was like, I went to jiu-jitsu class. And she's like, "Where did all this sound come from?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just wasn't scared." Like, I just didn't feel as scared. I felt like I was allowed to take up that space. And she was just like blown away. She's like, "I need to take jiu-jitsu class like this." She'd never seen like, an overnight change so much in someone's ability and confidence. And it was just like, that was a really eye-opening experience for me. I stopped at some point. Broche fell into some tough times around the second festival. So I stopped. I really needed my energy and attention to focus fully on kind of turning things around. Jiu-jitsu was so tiring. I mean, so tiring. Like, I think the biggest part was like how much more sleep I needed when I was going to jiu-jitsu, because it was so intensely tiring, like pushing people off of you, and like it was very, very full body experience. So I wasn't able to like wake up as early as I needed to get as much work done as I needed to get done. So then we ended up moving away, and I haven't found a studio that works. And then now we've got the baby, so going to roll around the mats is probably not the best idea, but I'll get back to it soon. I know that that's one hobby that'll come back into my life whenever I'm able to, because it really changed me. I know for a lot of people, ballet has this transformative experience, and when they see themselves as a dancer, or when they first see themselves in the mirror in a tutu, or they see themselves on stage for the first time, or I'll see, in the photo shoots that I do at the International Adult Ballet Festival, I'll see their faces when they see that they're a dancer, when they see their faces in a beautiful photo, and for them, that's that transformation moment. That's their moment of saying, like, I can do this. I can be this person who I thought I couldn't be. This person who I thought was unattainable is attainable to me. I am able to be this person, and I am able to embody that identity and be that graceful and be that personality that I always wanted to be. And, I think there are those moments in ballet where if you felt that you couldn't be it, and then you see yourself become a dancer, it's just really, it can be really transformative, those moments when you see that you can be someone that you didn't know you could be, that this space is available to you when you thought formerly that it was closed to you. That's a hugely transformative thing that one can experience from a hobby, whether it be ballet or something else, but it's a hugely transformative experience to help people shift their identity and see themselves in a new light and grow into the side of themselves that they didn't even know existed, that they didn't know how to get in touch with, that they've just like recently discovered, and it just blossoms into this new amazing part of themselves. So beautiful to watch when that happens. So cool, so awesome, and even better when their family notices and their friends notice, like, wow, you seem so much happier, you seem so much lighter. Like, these things that people notice is just like incredible. to watch the change that can happen from something that might seem trivial, but like it's really, really, really meaningful, and it can run very, very deep for people. Even though it's like quote unquote just a hobby, it can really change. It can really change things outside that hobby, in your life, in other areas. Like it really can, when you change who you are and how you see things, it can really ripple out into further areas of your life. So throughout all of this is a long and winding story. I hope you got some nuggets from it for your ballet, but really each particular thing that we pursue gives us something different. Each thing can teach us something different. Each person we meet can teach us something different. Each experience we have can teach us something different. And so having a wonderful array of things that you get to experience in life can be so, so, so meaningful, and give you so much richness and depth to who you are, to the different sides of you, the different sides of your personality, and all. One final point I'll make is how interesting it is to watch all the different types of teachers. In every different style, the teachers are a little bit different. I mean, every teacher has their own personality, and then within the styles, there's different types of teachers. You know, within singing, I've had teachers who were very encouraging, who saw that I was afraid and helped me get out of my comfort zone. And then I had teachers who told me I would never amount to anything. I had teachers who told me my voice was airy and I would never be able to sing with a clear tone because that was just how my anatomy was. Not true. Other teachers knew how to help me sing with a clearer tone. And so really seeing that not everything that teacher says to you is fact, but like just what that teacher is able to provide for you. That teacher didn't know how to help me have a clearer voice, but that doesn't mean I couldn't have a clearer voice. It's just that teacher didn't know how to do it for me. And then you get the teachers like the different Peloton instructors, and how some are more pushy, like pushing you more. Some are more soft and encouraging and inviting you to try different things. In jiu-jitsu, the professors are like very, they really, really encourage you to go out of your comfort zone, to try things. You try like somersaults or flipping over people or various things that you're like scared of, and they're just like, do it, go for it, you can do it. And they're really positive and really encouraging, but sometimes a little bit more harsh. Like, they'll sometimes tell you like it is and get a little bit more harsh than you might see in some other styles. So it's so interesting. It's so interesting. If you only have one teacher, you don't know all the different styles of teaching. You don't even know what type of learning style you have. So like seeing a broad range of teachers really helps you get perspective on what's happening in your class. It's easy to feel like so stuck in this one class or this one teacher and this one, you might take what this teacher says as fact, like you'll never be able to do this, or you can't do that, or you're not a turner, or you're not this. It's just what that one teacher is able to teach you and able to provide you. And every teacher has a different thing that they can offer you and a different thing they can teach you. And so exploring the wide range of your body, of teachers, of experiences, of people you're going to meet in these hobbies is so, so, so helpful. And you can draw patterns, and you can draw conclusions, and you can learn like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder where that is in this thing. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that applies here. The more you look, the more you experience, the more you see is all going to continue adding to the richness of your ballet, to your life, to the things that you can bring to relationships with other people. So I hope this whole episode has been hopefully fun, hopefully some funny things learned along the way, but I hope it's also been really helpful in seeing that you can do other things and still get better at ballet, that you don't have to always do this one thing, single track mind, in order to continue seeing progress and making progress. There's great, great, great value in having a wide range of different things that you like to try, different varying interests, different things you can pull from and draw from. All life experiences are going to help you continue growing in all areas of your life. And that is all very valuable, very beneficial, and so fun and fulfilling to get to do all these interesting, cool things and get to meet all these interesting people and get to see the world from many, many different perspectives. All of that also fuels your art, the things you create in ballet, the things you'd like to express, whether that's, painting pictures of ballet dancers or choreographing yourself in ballet. Everything you experience in your life all continues to fuel your art, making you a more expressive and artistic dancer as well. So anyways, I want to hear what other hobbies you have. I want to hear, do you think of ballet as a hobby, or do you find it to be something deeper? And what else do you do? What else do you do in your spare time? How does it help you with your ballet? How does it help you with your family, with your work? I'm really curious to hear for you how all of these things have woven together into your life. So until next time, I wish you very happy dancing.